What do you get when you take a Tier 5 French Destroyer, slap an Italian flag on it, and give it an exhaust smoke generator? FR25. But before we get into the gameplay, let's take a quick look under the hood and see how we're setting her up. Luigi Rizzo, that was my guy for the build, basically buffing concealment and guns to make it a good jack-of-all-trades boat. Buffing into the torpedoes is not going to be worth it at all on this one. And also, we buffed the accuracy of the ship, acceleration, and the concealment. Now, this boat is theoretical. What if historically Italy had raised and repaired one of the French Guepard Class Destroyers that was scuttled in Toulon in 1942? The French scuttled the fleet to keep the advancing Nazi army from capturing and using the ships. Guepard. Yeah, like I said earlier, this is a Tier 5 DD hull, and it has a lot of Tier 5 stats that kind of bother me, but there are some notable features that makes it a Tier 6. One important part is the exhaust smoke generator. It's going to keep you concealed even when full tilt. 2 is a strong speed boost, 20% for 120 seconds. It is the same French speed boost found on all of the tech tree destroyers. And a little pizza time flare, SAP shells provide a strong offensive armament against enemy destroyers. But yes, this ship shares a lot of stats with Guepard. Same hulls, same ship layout. Guepard actually has a little bit faster reload and better torpedoes. Yeah, that's right. They have a kilometer better range as well as being more concealed. Guepard also has a faster rudder shift, a better turning circle by 10 meters, and both ships are the same speed. Now, the gameplay in the background turned out to be a pretty epic match, coming down to the last few seconds to decide whether or not we won or lost, so definitely stick around for the ending. We're on Warrior's Path, and before this match started, I was thinking, boy, this ship probably isn't going to be a lot of fun against CVs and Tier 7, and here we go, there's a Saipan on the enemy team. But again, it turned out to be a hard-fought, sweaty one, and it was a really, really good game. Now, the first thing you may notice about the ship is the massive HP pool. It's quite nice for Tier 6, 19,000. It's going to come in the top 3 for Tier 6 DDs. It gives you a layer of tankiness, and should honestly make other superior gunboats think twice about trading with you, since you're going to take a lot of punishment before you go down. Now, the guns we'll get to test out on the Bismarck here in a little bit. They're good and they're bad. The HE is okay, the 9% fire chance is nice, I suppose, and they hit hard enough, but the reload is a little painful in my eyes, and it's like this for a reason. Everywhere we find the SAP shells, we should expect a longer reload because the shells are just so powerful. They have high alpha, they pin at nearly every angle, and they punch through tons of armor for their size. And they are always balanced by the reload. What are they strongest against? Light armor, meaning you should absolutely chunk DDs, and they do. Basically, unless a DD is straight up bow tanking you, the SAP, you're going to be able to shred them. The DPM is about 120,000, so you can be quite deadly against enemy destroyers, but part of my complaint about the Guepard hull is the gun firing angles. This is a big destroyer, meaning she's a big target, and to make matters worse in destroyer fights, in order to get all of your powerful 139mm guns on target, you have to show that big broadside to enemies. So yeah, you can be very powerful at killing other DDs, but just know you have your weaknesses as well. Even with the full gun build, I'm talking Mordoff, Mortar, Observant Rage, Death by 1,000 Cuts, you're still going to have a hard fight against other Tier 6 gunboats. Probably your best option is to keep a little farther back, especially against things like the Benson, the Oland, or the Cossack. Those are the big DPM HE boats at the tier, and they kind of have floatier shells. So if you stay at range, you'll have a better opportunity to win. And we'll test the SAP against the side of the Bismarck. Again, basically I want to hit him in the superstructure anywhere except the belt to finish off battleships. So again, good and bad. You know, the good parts, the SAP really does smack. As you can see here, we can deal pretty consistent damage, and the same against destroyers, you know, and that 120 DPM for the SAP comes about right in the middle of all the high explosive damage per minute, which is what you can figure any DD that you run into is probably going to be shooting at you. So it's good. But one thing that you're giving up is French AP. It's kind of a little known fact in this game, I suppose, but the AP on French destroyers is pretty insane. For instance, Kleber AP can Citadel a Minotaur at over 12 kilometers. So you're giving it up. When cruisers give you broadside, or say other lightly armored ships, like maybe an aircraft carrier, switching to AP in a French destroyer can be disastrous for the enemies. And not having that kind of hurts. Alright, well let's check in on the game. Bismarck pushed us out early and I didn't really have any options. I couldn't YOLO rush him. He has sonar, great secondaries. But now we're coming back in and we finally got the Akatsuki by the tail. If you're ever within 2 kilometers of an enemy DD, you might as well start working on your torps. Widespread's pretty good in this scenario because it's harder for the enemies to dodge. If they do dodge, they might end up having to go bow into you, and then you can just use your guns to slap them around. So anyways, there's the thought process there. If you're in a knife fight with an enemy destroyer at less than 2 km, just throw on the widespread, and if anything, it'll be a distraction factor. Now, we're getting skunked. If you guys haven't noticed the points, they're up 600 points to our 160. So we have to do something really dramatic. A King George V. It is not a battleship that you would ever want to YOLO rush. Not at all. But at the same time, we're out of time and we're too low on points. So that is exactly what we're going to do. We're going to come around this side of the island and try to set up a crossfire with him. I figure he's either going to turn directly out or bow tank our battleship. So either way, we're trying to set up in a way that he'll only get 1 salvo off on me. And luckily, like mentioned earlier, we have that big, beautiful HP pool. So let's see how it goes. On to the torpedoes as we're about to test them on KGV. They're not good. For starters, you only have 6 of them. The alpha is meh. The range of 6 kilometers sucks, and their detection is also not that great. The Guepard has better detection at tier 5, so they're really, really mediocre. They're enough to kill the KGV here though, so I am very thankful about that. Also, we're aircraft spotted, and there's another KGV, so we're going to stay behind the island so that he can't finish me off. But yeah, the torpedoes, meh. I definitely wouldn't spec into them or do anything like that. You're probably going to want to focus on the guns, mostly on this ship. Now, speaking of being plane spotted, you'll notice that we keep toggling our AA on and off. We turn it off because we don't want to be spotted by the planes. Aircraft, when they're flying over, they will see your tracers from your AA before they'll actually spot you. So we keep it off most of the match, but when the planes are around and I'm spotted anyways, they might as well be shooting and doing a little bit of damage. And let's pay attention at the end of this match how many planes we have shot down. Yeah, AA ratings on DDs is largely BS, I think, unless you have one of the really powerful ones like the Kid or the Oland, or you're using your DFAA or something like that. The Charles F. Hughes now got buffed and has a 400% DFAA, so that can be powerful. The speed, 36 knots, is the same as the tier 5 Guepard. It's below average for tier 6 DDs, but at least you have that awesome French speed boost. 20% can have you cruising at 43 knots. And right now, we really need it. Now, I kind of zoomed ahead a little bit. We got A cap, we got B cap. There's not enough time to simply go get C cap. We have to kill these last 2 ships, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to keep the Iowa spotted, and we're going to hunt down this pesky Saipan. Now, the rolling smoke is clutch here. It's absolutely huge. I can keep going at full speed towards his last known location without the enemy CV being able to drop me successfully again. So very well could be the difference between winning and losing here. And with 2 minutes left, we're about to find out how this ends. This is a big destroyer, like mentioned. The turning circle is annoyingly large for a destroyer, 690 meters. This is tied for the worst of tier 6. It means swinging your guns back into and out of the fight feels very cumbersome. And coupled with a longer than average rudder shift time for most destroyers, it can be kind of problematic. And then the last stat, 6.9 kilometer stock concealment. It's a little worse than average. The average is probably 6.8. So overall on paper, I see plenty to complain about for this ship. The gun firing angles and the poor turning circle, they hurt your gunboat ability, which is mostly how I think you would play this ship since the torpedoes suck. We caught up to the Saipan. We're very low on health, and here is where having AP, I could have melted this guy. We could easily be scoring citadels at 6 kilometers like this, but instead we're stuck either shooting the SAP or the HE and trying to burn him down, and all with just 60 seconds left. He's coming in with some dive bombers, so we're going to turn and hopefully dodge the torpedoes, but he should be able to triple drop me pretty easily, considering the AA on this thing, while I desperately try to get in range with the torpedoes. And 6 kilometer range, you know, that's harder than I think it should be. I think the torpedoes could have been a little bit better on this thing. FR25, I'm not going to call it bad, but I'm also not going to call it amazing. It just doesn't have the qualities that I really enjoy with my DD play. And it becomes really evident when you are up-tiered and playing against very, very powerful tier 7 ships. And hey, I mean, you could say the same thing, I guess, about any tier 6 destroyer, even the powerful ones like the Z35, the USS Kidd, and the Oland, which, by the way, if you were in the market for a tier 6 premium destroyer, those would be my picks. The Z35 is extremely powerful, tanky with sonar. USS Kidd has insane DPM and good AA. The Oland is very powerful with good DPM, good AA, and very fast 80 knot torpedoes, so those would be my picks. Yeah, this wouldn't be my favorite tier 6 DD. Anyways, I'm going to die, but my torpedoes are going to finish off the Saipan with just seconds left, winning us the game. So that was a pretty fun match. Do me a favor, hit the like button if you found this review helpful, and leave me a comment down below what you think about this French-Italian monstrosity. And I'll catch you in the next video. See ya.